Don't try to pronounce that at home. You might be at risk. So I actually recall that a few years ago, so I'm very pleased to see many people here in the room, because a few years ago, when I was actually in London, I used to talk a lot about analytics at that time, data management. And that was ages ago, probably like maybe 15 years ago, 17 years ago perhaps. So I recall being there. I was going to speak in a conference. So as I got up on the stage, and look around, and at the time, data management and analytics wasn't so popular, So I got on the stage, look around, and I see one guy just standing there, just literally one guy standing, just there, where Job is sitting. So I look at him and say, well, the room is empty. Rather than me staying here, do you prefer me to go down and just speak to you on one-on-one? And he says, look, to be honest, I don't really care about your presentation. I'm the next speaker. So yeah, things have changed a lot. So when we talk about big data analytics, we see a lot of people on the audience. We talk about digital transformation now because this is really the hottest topic in the market. And far from being just, hype, there is a lot of reality to it. So I'm going to talk about it today. So in the next, I believe that I have 30 to 40 minutes. So I'm going to try to make it very, very active so you guys enjoy it. But what I'm going to tell you is start from just the hype. I'm going to share with you first what is it, obviously, why you should care about it, what you should transform, and how you should do it. So I hope that you guys learn a little bit, but obviously I'm also hoping that I will learn from you as well, by having some conversations and discussions after that. So 10 years ago, there was an Airbnb, there was no Uber, there was no Xiaomi. Xiaomi, a mobile device manufacturer that is today disrupting the market by bringing in peer-to-peer lending, a peer-to-peer lending platform that allows you and me to exchange money, to lend money to each other. You know how much that is disrupting the payments industry? We gotta transform. We gotta think about all these disruptors. Think about what we should do. Otherwise, we are gonna be out of business. Now, the first question that comes to mind is, whether you are at risk of being disrupted today. Are you at risk of being Uberized, as we all say? So, let me tell you that essentially before, we used to see essentially disruptive competitors or competitors penetrating the market, within years. So you will see a competitor just coming from afar, from a different region, potentially getting into your market. Today, those competitors are just reaching our market within months. So that's critical. So what that tells you is that essentially you only have three options. Think about Uber, for example. So you can either block them legally, like it has happened in some countries, not in Philippines, by the way, because it has a very progressive law. Transform yourself, reinvent your company. So if you are planning to do that, you got to reinvent your company. If you are ready for action, you got to think that your battleground is going to be your customer relationship, because that is really what makes you different. Is your relationship with your own customer the only thing that you hold that no one else does? So it's learning about your customer needs. It's personalizing that experience. So the second thing that is critical here is that data is at the epicenter of this transformation. And we keep on talking about data. We keep on talking about whether or not we are capturing data and all that. But I keep on talking to people like you, and I see it as part of our surveys. A lot of companies do capture a lot of data, but they don't really analyze it afterwards. They just save it just in case. So you gotta think about those data assets so that you can be more competitive in the future. You gotta start thinking about using big data analytics tools in order to better understand your customer needs. Those are critical aspects. We've talked about, obviously, the personal economy, the sharing economy, the circular economy. Business models are being created and also destroyed constantly. Now we have companies like Uber, obviously Airbnb, just bringing all this sharing economy. So you gotta think about how you can be more effective with all that. Whether or not you can transform the business model of yours, whether you can bring something from cloud, bring something from payment as a service, whatever you think that will help you. But I'm going to give you some guidance around that very, very soon. So, interesting projects that are happening around that space, around the sharing economy. Think about Korea, for example, in Seoul. You know, the way that they are trying to make a smarter city there. But also in Davao, right, in order to tackle criminals and all that. And also in Singapore and in KL, there are many projects happening around smarter cities, right? Better utilization of resources across Asia Pacific. And now obviously new competitors. I mentioned obviously, you know, all of them, so I don't think that I need to talk more about it. But obviously all these companies are disrupting our market. So it's critical for us to get ready for action. And now obviously new government regulations. We all know that obviously we need to tackle, the moment that we start collecting more and more data, we need to think about whether or not the government is giving us enough regulations or enough guidance in order to tackle data privacy, right? So how do you handle that customer data? How do you ensure that whether or not you can use it and maybe resell it as well? Which, you know, essentially moving into data monetization models, okay, which is critical too. And then finally, new change in change in behavior. So today we have a stat in IBC that says that essentially 45% of buying decisions are made before your customer sales rep says hi to your customer. 45% of those buying decisions. So that means that before me as a sales representative saying hi to that customer over there, he has already made his mind about what he is going to buy from you. He knows. Because he's checking online, he's comparing prices, he's talking to people, he's checking on social media. So that's radically changing customer behavior. Think about it. So with all that, all these changes that are happening, we need to do something about it. You really need to start thinking about that transformation. We keep on talking about that transformation needing to happen, but these are the changes that are driving that. So the problem is that you don't only have to address the changes that I mentioned before. You gotta get ready for change. Not only the changes that I highlighted before. You gotta learn how to address change. Because change is constant. It keeps on happening. The changes that I highlighted today maybe will be different tomorrow. So you gotta make sure that your organization is agile enough and responsive enough in order to address change. Okay? So you gotta think about a way to essentially become more agile by using sense and response type of approaches. That essentially means your ability to recognize an opportunity or a threat. Think about your customers. Are you listening to your customers today? I know that we all say that we listen to them, we kind of understand what they need. But the reality is that we don't enough. Because as I mentioned before, I talk to a lot of you, and I know that you capture a lot of your customer data, but it doesn't mean that you analyze it after that. Maybe you don't have the tools, maybe you don't have the skills. So you gotta think about what you can do in order to better understand that opportunity or that threat that is coming to your market, to your country, to your industry. And obviously, once you do, you gotta execute on it. Adapt, plan, execute, move. And of course, you gotta do that within a very short window of opportunity. Because you only have this chance of being successful. Only this short of window of opportunity. Because otherwise, someone else will do. And you will be out of business. So you gotta be agile and you gotta do it now. You gotta transform. Now, the problem of that, the problem of that is that we feel like this man here. We all feel that way. Well, at least I feel that way. Even in my own organization, I feel like this man here having a massive ball chain just tied to my leg. Can't jump, can't be agile, can't do it. Why not? Because of the changes, because of the challenges that I highlighted in this slide here. First,
organization and data silos. Since the Industrial Revolution, we've all been, trying to specialize in certain areas, right? We are really strong at doing whatever we do in our company. The second thing here is, of course, complex business process and models. So think about it. A lot of organizations have been merging or acquiring other organizations, right? So those business models that were inherited from the past, or those processes that we, kind of like streamlined maybe 5 years ago or 1 year ago, are not guaranteed to work today. They won't work. A process that was efficient yesterday is not guaranteed to be efficient tomorrow. You gotta do something about it. You gotta think whether or not that process needs fine-tuning today in order to address the challenges that I mentioned before as well. And now finally, rigid systems. So applications, a lot of the applications that we buy, whenever we implement, say, an ERP system, HR solution, wherever you are implementing today, we tend to spend a lot of money implementing something today, and then making the right configurations, fine-tuning the system so that we can adjust the system to make it ready for today, right? But once you move 5 years down the road, even 1 year down the road, it's not guaranteed that you're going to be able to fine-tune the system again. How flexible are those systems in order to address ongoing changes? I talk to a lot of organizations and they tell me, well, the problem is that essentially when I was implementing my ERP system, I spent millions of dollars, right? And then 5 years later, they need to, address new regulations, new policies, new changes with their customers. And in order to fine-tune that system, the average that those organizations spend on an ERP implementation in making changes is 500 million per year, US dollars. Can you think about that? So you gotta ensure that whenever you are buying a system, the system is flexible enough to address changes, ongoing changes, so that you can configure it. And more importantly, it doesn't have to be your IT people configuring that system. The system needs to be flexible enough to allow the business people to fine-tune it whenever they need to. So that's critical. Now, we want to change our perspective. So in light of all that I just mentioned, we gotta transform. We really gotta do it. We need to think about what are the right tools, what are the right processes, where do we start? So this is where we start. Like that caterpillar over there, transforming into a butterfly. So digital transformation, according to our definition, is essentially driving change in your business and operating models by using digital technologies. So do remember something. This transformation is business-led, okay? So it's driven by the business, but it's enabled by technology, by these technologies that I mentioned before. Those technologies are critical for you to transform. But be mindful that unless the business people and the IT people work together, it won't happen. So, again, as I mentioned, you gotta think about this transformation as you potentially being a caterpillar over there. And then transforming into a butterfly. You know how it does that, by the way? Are you aware of it? It's a very interesting story. I'm not gonna spend, all the presentation talking about it, but I'll give you a headline. So that caterpillar over there digests itself, eats itself almost. So leaving only one component, just one part, the imaginal disc. So just by leaving the imaginal disc, which has a tremendous soup around it, that regenerates the tissues to create the antennae, the legs, and the wings, so that the caterpillar can become a butterfly. So of course, guys, don't take me wrong, I'm not suggesting you should transform into a butterfly here, right? Well, if you want, I wouldn't suggest that as being digital transformation. However, what I'm suggesting is that you gotta think about what is core to your business. What is that imaginal disc within your business? And keep it. Whereas the components that are superfluous, those components that are not critical for you to transform should leave behind, right? Because that's what is going to allow you to be more flexible, agile, and be able to fly. Now, as you think about what is core to your business and what is not, I want to show you a video that perfectly illustrates what is a digital twin. So a digital twin is a term that we've created in IDC to illustrate something that is part of this transformation. Think about a traditional company. Think about your core business and think about whether or not you can make something of your business in the digital world. So keeping what is core to your organization, but also creating something which is the equivalent of that in the digital world. So you gotta think about having that strategy. The second thing here is that you gotta have the right people on board. Again, do you have the right people? Do you have the right skills in order to analyze maybe that data or to use, mobility? Do you have the right people? Can you get that people from your ecosystem? Maybe you can hire them. Maybe you can tap into your partners. Think about that. How you can use your ecosystem of partners as well to source the best talent, or maybe just, collaborate with them. Now, you gotta think about your processes, because as I mentioned earlier, processes that were great in the past are not guaranteed to be good in the future. Those processes need to be flexible enough. They need to work, they need to be streamlined. You gotta find the gaps within those processes. And then of course, you gotta think about metrics. We all have strategies, but what I tend to see is that people will have a strategy, say, for big data analytics, but maybe they don't have a metric to assess whether or not they are in the right track. So sometimes companies will have qualitative metrics. Maybe in order to tackle or address customer experience, they will say, well, I'm sure that my customers are more satisfied. So how are you measuring that? Customer satisfaction index, surveys, NPS. You got to think about having metrics, right? Unless you have some metrics, you're not going to ensure that that is happening. And then finally, you got to have the right technology. Of course, technology is critical. If you don't have it, find the right partner to help you with that. Because this transformation is happening, you like it or not. It's going to happen, and it's happening today. So with that, good luck with this. Hope you